Dear Andy, I hope you're well. I will be upfront with you, I'm concerned. I've noticed over the past couple months you have withdrawn from previous activities and are acting seemingly different than usual. Church members notice your chronic absence and friends no longer see you at gatherings or events. Whenever people see you as of recently, you seem withdrawn, apprehensive and on edge, not the person we used to know. I talked with your father recently and he told me of the present struggles in your family. I'm sorry to hear that, and I pray God's love and peace will allow you to work through such difficulties. Your roommates told me he's noticed a seemingly excessive dedication of time to video games in your life. He is concerned about its effects on you, and frankly, so am I. I know you might be struggling and coping with your family's problems, but I'm worried this activity may turn into an unhealthy obsession like it did in the past. Andy, while your video games may allow you to escape reality for a little while, they will only bury feelings of hurt, which will harm you emotionally and mentally later on. I only speak candidly out of love for you. Just know that if you need someone to talk to, someone that will listen, I'm here. I hope you read this letter with an open mind and are able to ruminate its implications. My friend, do not neglect the truth that you so passionately lived out before, the truth that can help you overcome this addiction and help you in this time of need. Your friend, Nina.
Father Jacob, I'm worried about my son. I got a phone call from a friend of his, and she told me that Andy hasn't gone to class for 3 days, and that he hasn't studied in the last 2 weeks. In fact, he's been playing video games almost non-stop ever since his mother and I told him we were seeking a divorce. I tried calling him. He answered once and told me to go to the nether. I had to Google it. Apparently it's some kind of video game hell. His mother said he won't answer or return any of her calls. His friend also told me that he hasn't been going to church or his Bible study for weeks. He's abandoned all of his family and friends for playing with digital Legos. I've always held that there's nothing wrong with video games and that they're good for fun with friends and relaxation after a hard day. But my son isn't using them like that. He's hiding from the pain. Can you help me, Father? I know you're not happy about the divorce, but can you tell Jane and I what to do about our son? New Vicar.
What a freaking fantastic weekend it's been. This entire weekend's been an intimate dance with my wonderful 3DS and Xbox. Spending hour after hour defeating baddies and saving princesses has allowed me to find a peace like none has ever known. Dad tried to call me a few times, but I don't really want to talk to him. I'm not going into detail, but his betrayal hurt worse than when Pigma betrayed James and left him for dead. Screw him, I say. There are many other things I need to do in the worlds of Skyrim, the Mushroom Kingdom, and Dreamland. The blight in each of these lands I can fix all by myself. There is no one who can stand in my way. Not much else really matters right now. I know it's dangerous to go alone, but I have all the equipment necessary for the quest ahead. I have the plans for a 500-room mansion I'm going to do in Minecraft. It will be epic, and I will be the most awesome gamer in the whole world.
My dear Wormwood, your last letter was pitifully disdainful of my suggestion that you use video games to manage your patient. Your remarks were appropriately couched in niceties, but your rejection of my advice clearly demonstrates that your ignorance of the power this recent development holds. I was disdainful once too, when I saw the initial results of manipulating video games, back when that was only an experimental tactic. The results were only a small smattering of pale, frail creatures that wasted away their health and complexion, bouncing a digital ball back and forth. Hardly the great sinners we'd hoped for. Nonetheless, video games have become one of our favorite ways of numbing minds as they pass into our Father's house, and are increasingly effective in crippling the blasted church. Do not think that I'm saying all video games are effective tools all the time. That is not the case. The question is how we can use your patient's enjoyment of playing the games to unravel his spirituality. Since, due to your earlier failures, he is already a disciple of the enemy, and once a frequent churchgoer at that. But we've discussed your failures often enough. There's no need to thank me for wrecking his parents' marriage. Unlike some other tempters, I actually get my job done. I set up that situation so that he could capitalize on the video games. There's one very easy way to turn video games to our advantage. Use them to fill his mind with our kind of thoughts. Things that our Father would be glad to have him enjoy. Enjoyment of itself is a wretched thing. Watching those pathetic bipeds enjoy the simple pleasures of life is agonizing. What if instead we can cackle as they enjoy what the enemy hates? That is a great thing. Thanks to our efforts in the industry, there are a great variety of games that can answer to any prurient interest. In fact, we can even use a game about racing to incite lust by providing the image of a bikini-clad woman to wave the starting flag. Simply making them play the right kinds of games that celebrate vice and normalize sin can make your efforts in all other areas of tempting much simpler. However, as a regular churchgoer and apparently having parents that also belong to the enemy, it may be very difficult to get him to play that sort of game, at least until he leaves his home for college. In that instance, take advantage of the rising feelings of independence and often the decreasing sense of responsibility, and fill his time with games that will quietly make him hate going to church and hate communing with friends that dislike his games, calmly drifting towards our Father's house. This brings us to the next easiest way to make him effective. If you cannot make him enjoy the right kinds of games, make him enjoy them far too much. The humans themselves, thanks to some of our best tempters, myself included, are doing our work for us in making the games addictive. Start him off with a little bit of gaming, but soon enough he'll want to play more. Encourage that. Our enemy wants his servants to be about the business of what he calls his kingdom, edifying and exhorting one another what he calls redeeming the time. But if instead we can keep him earning points in any game, Minesweeper, Minecraft, there's no difference. Instead of building the kingdom of the enemy or undoing our best efforts, then we have truly capitalized on this medium. Just the other day, one of the game companies celebrated that every day their manifold users spend 1,000 years building and playing with their digital Legos. Remember, it is not that these things are immaterial that makes them a waste for humanity. It is that there's so much more they could be doing. Just imagine if all those 1,000 years were spent in study of that hated book the enemy gave them, or if they spent their time teaching one another what they have learned from the enemy, then we would be hard-pressed indeed. But finally, and this is a rarer tactic, if neither of those two can happen, there's still one more trick to try. If he cannot be made to enjoy video games that exalt vice, and if you cannot undo his attention to virtue by playing, you must instead make him enjoy the video games not at all. It is the enjoyment of them, the delighting and creative and exploring capacities that we hate so much and that the enemy so loves. So when he gathers his friends to fellowship with them around a game, do not let him think his time well spent. Instead, when it is over, practice imitating his conscience and befuddle him with guilt. Make him feel that all that time of fun and community and all those other vile things he could have got out of it were nothing at all. Here you might even wish to bring into his mind that statistic I told you about earlier. Make him feel that playing fun has no part in his life, and that he should spend all his time, every moment of it, hard at work or study. He might even try a suggestion, which is delightful to watch. He will work harder than any other human for a day or a week, but then he will return to that pastime he enjoyed. You must suck all enjoyment from it the moment he is finished, then rack him with guilt again. Soon he will neither desire to study nor to play, and if by reason of eternal salvation he cannot thus be dragged to our Father's house, we may still relish his despair on earth. And that is a tasty thing. Now do make sure you read my advice carefully and apply it well. Then you will be by no means ineffective or unfruitful in the knowledge of our Father below. Regards, your affectionate uncle, Screwtape.
Any questions for the mortals or the mortals are welcome?
For the sake of time,